Hi boys and girls, welcome back. Bryan here with some more art from South Lanarkshire Council, from Leisure and Culture. Now we're going to do a little still life today. So this is what we've set up here. This is a picture here, if you can see that. And this is just a few things that I had lying around. So you can choose anything that you want, or you can go along with this. You can pick a few of your favourite things. So it's a good idea, just for a wee pointer here, it's a good idea to pick something nice and tall so that it's vertical, and it's a good idea to pick something going across the way like that so that it's horizontal, and just maybe a couple of wee items that you can get nice wee shadows. And this is just a wee bit of cloth that I had, and just to create some folds. And it's quite nice if you can sort of create the folds in a way that they're all kind of pointing towards the main objects there. Okay, and I've chosen a glass to get nice reflections off of that, and as you can see the sun's coming through that, so we'll get nice lights on that. And one thing that I didn't get on this picture that I'm getting on this today is just some of the nice warm tones coming through there, the oranges, which is quite nice. And I've used the silver here so that I can get nice reflections of the oranges on the silver as well. And because it's nice and sunny today, I'm getting nice wee sunspots on all my reflective things as well. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to sketch this first on the board. So this is what we're going for, something like this. So I'm just going to show you how to sketch it, and then when I'm going to paint it, I'll introduce the brushes and all the paint and everything that you should need for them. Okay. So it doesn't take long, this. So all you need is a good rubber, a nice rubber that doesn't go all black, so just check and test your rubber first. So I'm just using a sharp dark pencil so that you can see it, but preferably you should maybe use a light pencil. Okay, so I'm just using that as well as my reference in case I have to look at that as well, but you should be focusing on this because this is what you call still life, so it's just as you see it, and that's good practice for your drawing. Okay, so you're just going to come across the board. My board's probably a bit bigger than what you've got, but that's okay, it doesn't matter what size of board it's on, it's just to get started. So with that one there, I've just went across there a little bit, and I'm just going to make a little line. If you have a ruler, I don't suggest using a ruler to draw, but this is just to mark some things out. So there's going to be a little windowsill behind there, and this is on a table at an angle, it doesn't matter, but I've got a wee box under that just to raise that up, so you could put a book or whatever just to raise these up, because that's quite a nice composition, just to keep these up a wee bit higher than these as well, because it casts better shadows as well. Okay, so this is my wee bit that's raised up. I'm just going to go over here somewhere. Now, maybe the best thing to do rather than use that, just something straight. I was just using my pencil like that, and I want that to be quite high, so I put all the pencil above the line and straight down like that, and just a little, maybe halfway down the pencil for the rest of it. So the good thing about doing this pencil here, I'll show you this here, the good thing about doing this pencil here is this pencil line comes down half, so everything should be equal half all the way up, and it gives you a nice shape to your bottle, because it's quite hard to do curvy things. Right, so I'm going to go round about here and do almost like a wee half orange. And you can do it like an orange like that if you like, if that helps. And then on each side, you're just going to come from there, this is the shoulder of the glass, and you're just checking all the time that both sides are equal all the way up. And that saves your going all squinty like that. So this is just, you can bring that line right up as well and keep that half as well. Okay, so this wee line here, as we used as half an orange, we'll use that as where our label's going to start. But in the meantime, we're going to bring this down, but the bottle sort of comes out slightly, and then it sort of comes back in. I've maybe done it slightly narrower than the other one. But what you can do with this as well is you can bring, there's a side of the bottle, you might see a little bit more of it there. So that widens it and it brings it back in, and that creates nice lights as well. So just where this line is here, we can do this as if we're doing a half an orange again. Just make sure, it's good to get the line in, because if you get the line in, these two bits should be equal. So you can see that's swaying. And the reason that that goes differently is your wrist goes quite natural that way, but you would have to turn your wrist almost upside down or that way to get that one right. So that's why these things are quite good, the line in the middle, to make them the same. So you just keep chiseling that round until you're happy with it. So that's the start of the label, and then you just continue that all the way down like that, and that's it. So right away I'm going to rub out my line in the middle, the things I don't need now, because they were just guidelines. So you don't need that line there. So it's good to get rid of them. And that way your bottle's the same on either side. And that's the same if you're drawing a vase or anything else. So there's a little straight bit at the bottom. Things might be overlapping this, but we'll just make it straight as we can for now. So that's the bottle in. Now, the little jug that we've got here, you can see it here, just depending on if you sit on something high, you're going to see most of that. So we just want to see the sort of outline of that. So I'll show you an easy way of doing that. So just before I do that, this is sitting on a wee sort of platform like the book. So I'm just going to do a little bit like that, and a little bit going like that, and like that, just to show that little platform now. And so it's maybe a little bit wider than that, because it's not very big, this wee thing here. So we've got a little stand, and you're just kind of doing that first. It's like your half orange again, so that makes it easy. And then upside down you're doing a half orange, but maybe a bit bigger. It's a bit like a cereal bowl. So if you do that a bit bigger, cut it across there a little bit, and you've already got a line there. So if you use that line there, like that, all we want there is to put a wee peak on that, and come back up and down, back onto your line, and that's your wee spout there, okay? So we'll just go over that again, just make sure that's okay. And then you're going to the other side, you're curving it a little bit, bringing it back, and you're just really copying that line again, but it doesn't come down as far. So that's that bit done. And then your little handle, you're just kind of doing that, and it overlaps the label a bit. So you can double it a little bit, and we'll get with shading with that later. So I'm not too bothered with that now. So right away, get rid of all your lines that you don't need. And that was easy enough to do, but you could have halved that as well, just to make the two sides the same. But if you make a little bowl like an orange shape, that's fine. So there's a couple of tangerines sitting here, and I'm just going to rub a bit of this out because that's in my way now, so I don't need them. So it's overlapping the base of the bowl. So I'm just going to kind of roughly do them, because my paint will do most of them, so don't be too particular with the sketch. If you do the wee seeded bit first, it gives you an idea of the way it's sitting, like that, and the other one's just overlapping. So it'd be a good idea just to overlap that a little bit on the end of the bowl as well. And it's a wee bit higher up, and the reason it's higher up, the shadows will be placed slightly different, which makes it nicer. And that's a wee seeded bit there. So we'll go back to that. And so that's nearly done. We've just got the apple to do now. But round about here there'll be wee folds in the cloth, so I'm just going to sort of do something like that with my pencil first. And the apple's going to be a bit bigger than the tangerines. So what I'm going to do here is make this a bit higher. And I think this was in line with the label, the label's a bit there somewhere. So I think it was just below the label line, so it was just a bit there. So there you are, there's a wee gap between these two things as well. So just do your apple. It doesn't matter what shape, you can change it with your paint, it's just to get it in now, and I'll show you how to do that. And that's a wee seeded bit there. Okay, and it's got a wee sort of round bit there. So we can make that a wee bit bigger as we go with the paint. Okay, so that's that all in now, and I'll show you how to do the rest with the paint, but there's a few wee folds and things there. Now, you don't have to draw the window, but if you like, just to show that it's at a window because there's lots of light coming through, you can do some wee extra lines like that. And you can even do a line just like that. Just rub out anything you don't need. So this is your time now to rub out all your wee guidelines. When you're doing it on a canvas board, because the canvas board is primed for paint, the lead can be a wee bit stubborn to come off, but with white paint will cover that, so that's okay. Okay, so with the folds and everything, I'm just going to show you how to do that with the paint. So that's all you need for the sketch at the moment. Oh, I forgot the little handle. So that's why I picked this, I like this wee handle on here. So if you, just below the top and just on the shoulder there, just put two wee bits out like that. And a nice wee loop round like that, and then double it. Like that, that's all you need on there. Okay, so that's us ready to paint. Okay, so we're now going to start painting your subject, and it's still sitting here in front of us with nice lights coming through it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take some white and block out some of my wee pencil lines just in case they get in the way. But before I start, I'll just go back to the brushes. We're using the same brushes for most of the pictures. So I don't know if you can see this close up. This is your big brush. It's like a number 10, I don't know what number this is, but nice big white brush, so that's good for doing all the big areas. Although we might not need it, we might get away with this. It's a nice round brush, nice thick head on it. It's got a point on it as well for doing bigger areas and filling in bits here, so that's good. And then you've got your wee flat brush, which is good for lines or detail or marking out things, so that's good as well. And then you have your little detail brush. This might be good for doing the writing on a label or whatever. Now, you don't need to do every subject in this that I've done. You can take some out, but as long as you've got a nice variety, it wouldn't be good if you just did flat things. But even if you had them with that, or them with that, without that, so you can choose yourself or you can choose your own subjects. This is just an idea. So now I'm going to just take my brush dry with the white. Well, I'll tell you the paints that you need as well. So this is your palette. You definitely need your thick white paint. And you need ultramarine, Payne's grey or black, whatever you've got. A nice light red, a deeper red, and a nice rich yellow. And a nice kind of rusty colour, that's called burnt sienna. And you've got a nice leafy green, which is sap, so the nearest you've got to any of them. Okay, so if I'm mixing colours at all, I'll use this palette and I'll mix them on there to show you how to do that. But it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I'm just going to use the white without water on it now, so that my white is pure. And I'm just going to take away, I don't need to take away the line there actually, because that's going to be black. But anywhere else, and I'm just doing that so that when I'm working with it, and I don't need that line there anymore, that line's going to go a different way, going to go more like a wee t-shirt shape at the top, so I'm just going to take that out, and I'll just cover any lines. I've just broadened, I put an extra wee line round the bottle there just to make it a little bit broader. Okay, so that's a bit better. And I think I'm okay there, but I'll just put a wee bit there just to keep it clear. And I don't need it on my foot, that's okay. So I'm just going to wash my brush there, and I'm just going to see if I can get away with using this brush to do some of the background. So I've got another little reference here as well, just for backgrounds and colours for material. But we'll just go with this because it's nice and sunny today, and we could use white with a little bit of lemon and just put lots of this about up here. And I'm going to gradually go a bit darker because if I get some darker tones in this, the objects will show up well. But I need to get light as well, so I'll just show you how to go about that. So very loose. This is the second brush I was using, the rounded one. And you can put lots of white on it. Now you can see my subject's just on one side of my bottle now. that's just, I wasn't bothered with centering it in the board as a picture, but if I like, I could put something else here if I want, or I would just cut the board there. So I don't want to do too much, it would take too long, so we'll just do this today. So keep all the light at the top coming through and interrupting some of the dark. And remember the wee bits like candles and things like that. So you just go round like that. So that's pretty pale. So what I would want to do is introduce a little bit of ultramarine. So I'll just put a bit in my palette and a tiny wee speck of grey in that as well. And I can put some darker bits, especially around about my objects, because that's what will make them stand out a bit more. But you're just discreetly putting it in. It's not making your picture really dark. It just gives you that wee sort of greyness there so that you can get nice lights on the glass and things like that. You can go back up there, you can put lots of light up there because that's not going to get in your way. And back to that later. We just want to keep a bit of this blue, just a tiny bit of the grey. Payne's grey has got blue in it anyway, but it's just so that it's not too strong. I'm adding the blue in as well. So we'll keep that nice and we sort of grey tone round about the bottom, not near the bottom. Should come out a bit nicer. Right, that should do us for the now. Right, so I'm just going to start with a few bits of blocks of white. Sort of fill in bottle, I'll leave the label for now. And just get the bottle in. So that just tidies that up a little bit. And it doesn't matter actually if there's wee spots of green or anything on that, because that'll just be reflected light coming through there, which we probably will do. Now I don't want to put white down there because I'm going to show you this now. I'm going to take a bit of the nice strong yellow. I'm going to base that at the bottom there, all the way right round there. And I'm going to take a little bit of the burnt sienna there, and just at the bottom of the label, I'm going to sort of mix that a little bit. So this is maple syrup. So I'm just going to, I think it's just kind of there it stops, and I'll show you how to do the stop line in a minute. So I'm going to darken this. And like usual with acrylics, they come up a bit stronger the more layers you put on. So I'm just going to layer that in a little bit there, the darker colour. Now there is wee sort of markings on the glass just at the bottom there. So you don't have to do them, but you could use a smaller brush and just use your Payne's grey or a mixture of the brown. And it's just wee sort of markings on the glass. They almost look like wee teeth, sort of going like that. But I suppose that just makes anything darker against the light shows off the light even more. So that's quite nice to put that in. You don't have to, but it's just nice. And don't worry if you overdo it, because you just wet the brush and you just clean round and down it like that. And define them a little bit more. So it's good to have a tissue handy so that you're not working with too much water. And that's a bit more of the yellow. And we'll go back to that. So I'm going to take a little bit of the Payne's grey and I'm going to mix it with the burnt sienna again. And I'm just going to put a little loop round about here. and that's going to be the top. And I'll just put a wee edging on the glass there. So watch your brush doesn't get too dry, because it tends to go a wee bit kind of hairy if it's too dry and you don't get a nice fine line. But because this is on a canvas board, I have to sort of work it into the grains a bit more. So a little dark line at the bottom, and I'm going to just leave a gap so that that leaves a bit of glass left in there. So I've got a little bit of dark on this, so I'm just going to go around the bottom of the label. A little bit darker again, and this is what will make the maple syrup look like the lights on it. So that's my Payne's Grey with a little bit of that, and you can blend it a wee bit if you like, but your wee brush should do it. So I'm just going to set a clean brush now, slightly damp, and I'm just going to sort of merge that in a little bit more. A bit more of the sienna. So the Payne's Grey is making it nice and strong there. But that's going to just go right into your label. So while I've got Payne's Grey on there, I'm just going to go around the label now. So just mind you've got a handle there. I'm using a smaller brush just because I'm in beside a little bit of detail here. And just fill that in. If you want this to be even darker, you can add more blue to it. I'll just show you what that does. So there's some Payne's Grey with a little bit of blue, and that's what that's like. Just makes it a bit darker, a bit more velvety black, even though it's grey. Makes it nice and rich. So here's your label here. Just clean your brush up on that before you collect more. So just stick to your lines that you've already drawn out, and that'll give that time to dry, and then we can do a bit of white writing on it with the small brush later on. Don't bother if any goes on there, that's absolutely fine. It's going to be the dark shadows on there anyway. Right, so while I've still got this colour out here, I'm just going to do round about the lid. So it's quite rounded up there, and it comes down. And there's maybe a wee bit of light left there, and this is all blocked. And then there'll be a wee space and just a little bit of rim shown there. So just something like that now. And then the little markings around the bottle. Some of my white might still be a bit wet, so no, it's dried in. So it doesn't matter how thick these are. And this is what I was going to show you about this. We've got a little rim going around there, and I think there's a little shadow there as well, which shows you the shape of the bottle. And that comes down like that. And then there's little bits of dark down here. But try, even if it's a dotted line, try and get the dark bits on the bottom edge. And there's some little shadows around here. Now you can add a little bit more blue to this here because the sky will be reflecting on it. And we'll also have some little bits of green as well. So this is just to show the glass up. We'll go back to this. We might not, oh, we don't need that bit there, that's inside the thing, so that's fine. And this bit here is all dark as well. All the way down the neck of the bottle. You can just chisel the brush in and out like that. And then if you get any left, get a wee line on there. Kind of drying up there, so I'll get a little bit more from that one. So I'm kind of doing this quick, but you can take your time. Just keep playing it and do it nice. Bit more detailed. So that's that wee bit in. So I'm going to leave that bit now to dry before we do any more to that. Because if I start adding whites in, they'll just mix with these colours now, so we'll let that dry. So then now I'm just going to take my bigger brush and I'm going to take some white, just a little bit of the blue now, and that creates a nice sort of silvery effect. So nice and light, and I'm just going to fill this in. This is just a base now, and I'm going to leave room there for the reflection of the two tangerines on the bowl, so it's going to look a little shape. It's only a part of them in the scene, so it's fairly pale, and there's a little bit in here as well, and it's maybe a wee bit more blue in there, just to be the lights, because there'll be a bit of blue going up there as well, reflecting the skin. And while you've got that on, you can put some around your handles and things, because it'll pick up some of the reflections of blue on that. And without cleaning my brush too much, there is a wee bit of it red as well, which you won't see until I put the dark in. And there's a wee bit on that corner as well. So since that's a smaller area, I'll go back to a smaller brush and I'll work with the Payne's Grey and the blue again. And I'll get this really dark in here. But keep your brush nice and moist for this. So you can do two things. You can draw that round about the tangerine there. There's a nice straight line there. Now I've picked up a little bit of white there. So we're working quite close to the light colours now, so just keep this pretty dark. I'm going to leave a little bit down there for that little bit of orangey light that's shining on the silver. But just get your outlines in. And get the outline, even though there's a nice highlight there, will be an outline there as well. So that's quite nice, that's gave it a nice graduation of light going into dark. But it has made this a wee bit too light, so I'm just going to darken that. Right, so right round there as well, we'll have a little bit of dark. And sweat your brush again. And there's quite a bit of this in here. So I'm going to leave a little border around this because I want it to show light, and I'm just going to cover that around. That's the other side. Just make sure it's moist enough. The smaller brush dries up quicker. So you can take that all the way across there, like that, and it just loops round. And just let it show up the white and the blue off. So I'm just going to leave a bit fresh white just to show you. So you do need that wee line. It's a wee bit wet now, but I'll go back into that. And also, you might not see this now, it's better done when it's dry, but there will be a little bit of white going all the way around it. It's a bit wet right now. And it doesn't have to be the same all the way around. So to show that up, you can take a wee tiny line. Some things are better left when they're dry, but if you take a wee tiny line right under there, it'll show off the white. And then what you do is just take the blue white and just kind of merge that in a little bit so it's not so thick, that line. You've got the tools to do that, so your water and wet brush, just thin that back down, that'll be fine. Okay, so we're getting there. So just while that's dry, I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and put it on my tangerines all over. go straight to these as we do them. So this is going to be a lot of light shining on these bits. So while they're still wet, take your lightest red. Now while they're still wet, you can sort of mix it a little bit, like that. Just show as much of the light at the top as you can. That's picking up a little bit of red, but that's absolutely fine because it's going to be in shadow down here anyway. So I'm going to go in for a little bit of the darker red, and sometimes what I do, I just mix it with the light red on my palette. I'm going to use a bigger brush because the bigger brush is a wee bit better for blending as well, and it covers the area quicker. So I'm just taking the light red again, which looks like orange over the yellow, so that's fine. So you can see I'm leaving some highlight there. And they will eventually go a wee bit bigger with painting, but that's fine. That's what we want. So that's one hand now. These are just bases, as I say. With acrylics, it's better when you go back over again with another layer. So I'm not going to leave it yellow, there's going to be some white on that, but there will be wee bits of yellow as well. And there'll be a wee shadow between them, so you can use a little bit of Payne's grey with the light red there. And there's going to be just a little shadow separating the two of them there. This one will have a little shadow on there. While it's nice and wet, you can blend that in. And then of course we'll have that shadow. What I did is I mixed Payne's grey and blue for a wee bit of the shadow. So there's a nice shadow around there. And this one's a bit higher up. Now I'm just going to show you a little bit of this on the cloth. I'll take my flat brush and I'll take some white. I'll put quite a lot of white just near it, not on it, just beside it. And because that's wet, both of them are wet, I'll chisel them together like that. It makes the line of the shadow a wee bit softer. So you'll be doing a lot of this on the cloth, so that's how you get the white and dark on the cloth as well. So there'll be wee bits that's really quite white like that on the top of the cloth, like that. And then there'll be wee sort of bluey bits, bluey grey, going round there, which will be the darker part of the cloth, because that's the wee platform it's sitting on. And there's a bit of this going right down here. It's good to have a wee bit of this made up actually, just a bit of the Payne's grey and blue. Not too dark, although it could be darker than that. So that's nice and sharp because that's the facing side because they're on a wee platform. But as it comes down here, it's just like a soft cloth. So that'll have a wee shadow there. And then really take ever so much of brush. This is best done when it's dry, but it's just to show you a little bit now. This bit here will be super light. And this will go just round the top. And then there'll be another shadow underneath there to show you the cloth going round there. Okay. So while we've got those colours out, I'm maybe getting a bit of the tangerine colours on the reflective bit here now. So you don't need to be too detailed with these, they're just reflected in the silver, so you can go back to them. And we can look a wee bit stronger than that. And one of the things that makes that stand out, there might be a sort of shadow between them. There's going to be a whole lot of dark bits round about there. And I'm just going to clean that, and there's a wee bit of light just between, just to show you the kind of shine on the glass, the silver, but we'll go back to that. There's some reflected bits to go back on that, but it's quite dark at the moment. I'll maybe put a wee sort of outline around there. And maybe just another wee bit. Payne's grey is good because it's not too dark. If it's just getting a mixture of the light and dark, that's what makes it shine. And you've got quite a bit on there as well. So that'll have a wee light bit around there too. So it's a bit wet, that bit at the moment, so we'll go on and do the apple for now, and I'm going to use a big brush for that. Now the apple, just the way it is, one part of it's quite limey, greens there and the other part's red. So we'll start off as a base of yellow. Nice strong yellow again with a little bit of the green in it, so very pale. So you're just putting this on first. And that's all around the top piece there. So that bit goes a bit darker. And a little bit down there. And sometimes even when it's red, I just put green anyway because it'll show through, wee bits might show through in there. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my brush now, and I'll start with the lighter red. And I'll put the lighter red just where I see it then. And I'm just working in wee sort of stripes, just the way the apple is going. So, there's quite a bit of the... So it's looking a bit orangey now, but that's okay, that's for my lights. And then I'll give it a deeper red now. And I just keep making it darker. And when this is dry, it's good to give us fresh layers. That's what makes it look richer looking. So it's pretty wet at the moment, but I'll get as much base in as I can. Now, just the way the apple's sitting there, it's quite dark there and it's quite light up there. I'm just going to kind of take another wee bit out of the apple just to give it a nicer shade there. Probably more green there, but there'll be a shadow over it, so I'll just mix a bit of that into the red, and it just gives you that wee sort of darker shadow. So in this bit here, there's quite a bit that's quite dark, so I'm going to take my Payne's grey this time, and the dark red, quite a lot of red. So if it goes too dark for you, don't keep mixing on that spot. Take what you've got and just move it over to a fresh spot. So it's almost like a purpley colour. So you'll have a lot of this down here first for the shadows, and some of it just sort of going up. And round about this area here, be quite dark. We don't want to lose the red on it right enough, but this is the darker bit here. I'm working with some lines that I'll begin in with some fresh lines over and above some of them as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just get my fresh white, and there's a nice highlight sitting up here. And there's another highlight sitting there. just a tiny one there. So you might see these bit once the gloss in the background's filled in as well. So where those highlights are, we're going to give us little bits of lemon just beside them. So you can take your time with the apple and just get a bit more detail in this. So that's a big brush I've been using for that. I'm now going to use a smaller brush just to get a bit more detail in. So I'm going to use a little bit of the burnt sienna and a little bit of the green. Just round about this little bit in the middle here. And I'm just going to go round about there. Like a little donut round about the wee stem that's sticking up. I'm just going to wet my brush, and while that's still wet, I'm just going to spread that a little bit. Then I'll take, just for a darker stroke, a bit of the paint grey and the brown. And later on I'll put a wee highlight on that. Okay, so the apple is drying out, so I'm going to put a couple of little bits of light here and there, just where I need it. This is a finer brush now, so this can create some nice lines. So just next to that highlight, I want the red to be really quite strong now, so I'm just going to go in with a bit of a bright red. Round about there. And what I'm going to do is just dot it. If you just dot it on like that, your red comes up much stronger. Sometimes it just sits nicer. As I say, the second layer just sits much nicer. It's okay to get a few wee lights. So I'm just stripping in and out of wee bits there, which make it look quite nice. And you can use the red to create a nice wee shape round about the apple. Now, to fine that line down a wee bit, I'm just going to use some yellow. Just get right in there. Make that bit a little bit lighter in a minute. So, most times I just get sort of one layer on it at the moment, but we'll go back to that and we'll put the details in because you can't work on it when it's too wet. So what I'll do now is I'll take my big brush, get it as clean as you can, and I'm just going to take some white with a bit of pale blue on it, and what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of grey in it. What I'm going to do now is make up some of the dark shadows and the folds in the cloth. That could be a bit darker. So we're taking a bit of Payne's grey and putting it in a pale blue and white, you know. And there's just a little bit of the cloth that comes down here like this, so I'm just shaping it. And there's a couple of little loops goes up like this. And you might get another one. And then it goes round the corner like that. I think there's a little loop there as well. And that way it's down. So that's going right back there. And there's a few, just to bring the light in there, there's a few wee shadows going in there. And just to give you an idea how to do material, it's just like doing wee hills. If you go up, down like that, and if you do a wee bit like that, it'll be dark in the bottom bits and it'll be light on the top bits. So I'll show you a bit more of that. So I'm just shading in some of this now. So watch your brush doesn't get too dry. This will maybe make the apple stand out a wee bit better as well. So I'm just making that a wee bit darker there now, and I'll give them some highlight later. So these wee bits will be dark because they're underneath the little loops where there's no light. And I'll show you what we can do with them in a minute. So if we take the flat brush now, oops, and just keep this flat here, we're just defining the lines. Now that's probably going to be darker because that's what the table is sitting on, so you can use the white just to define the lines first. And it gives your material a nice wee sort of bend on it in the flow. So here's a little bit here that's a wee loop, that's going to go darker there. So that wee loop will go a wee bit darker there. And then the top of it, just like a wee hill, will go light there. That's how we fold, and just as it comes down the bottom of the hill, you've got a wee dark bit. Not too dark, and you just blend it in, and that creates that little fold there. So just a bit more than that. And so on, so you can keep doing that sort of thing. And just go in sort of light bits. And if the material dips at all, you'll have a couple of wee bits of shadow. But you don't need to be too particular about this. As long as you've got lots of shadow and lots of light, it'll work. So there's a wee hilly bit there, nice and light up there. Falling down into that one. Nice and light up there. Falling down into that one. And as it falls down, you'll get wee bits of shadow. So you're just using a bit of light and dark all the time. Just watch the shape of your tangerines. There's still some detail to put on them anyway, so you don't want continuous lines all the way around there. But I've just left that there because I'm going to do the table a wee bit darker there so that you can see the cloth. There's another wee hilly bit there, and this will be nice and bright in there because the sun's coming through there and the sun's coming through there, and this will be nice and light, so just keep a nice fresh white handy to do this. And you can soften some of these. So we want to get our dark shadows and things in now. I'm just going to use the Crease Grey and the Blue again. That's quite a good colour for the dark shadows. So just before I get there, I'll put them in there. That's in route to the blue. And you can pull some of them up the bottom there. I'll put just a little bit like that just to show shadow. And then just line them across. Like that. What you can also do is take the red, just cut the red in between that, just to make it look a bit more matching. And want that one white across there. So that fresh white there can make that look nice and soft as well. There's a nice highlighted bit there too. So I'll go back to do some of that in a minute. I'm just going to get something dark now, darker colour for the table. So again, I suppose we could use the Payne's Grey and the blue just for the line, just to get this in. Keeping that round the base of your cloth. Just doing it loose now, but you can put that on a bigger brush. This is just really short with the cloth. Try and make it go across through so that it doesn't look as if it's going the same way as the cloth. You can go over this with a bigger brush later, so it's got a little loopy bit there. Now, this should be sitting on a table, and if that's drooping down there, the table probably changes course round about there. And this is the darker bit, and the rest will be a little bit lighter. This is the facing of the table. So the cloth is just sort of sitting over the table now. So you can start to see it a little bit better, and that can be a bit darker as well because that's the table, but it doesn't need to be as dark as down there. That's a cloth there, and that's a cloth there, but I'm just going to kind of a little bit darker here. This is the table, but again a bit lighter in the bottom. So if you start to get all these blocks in, you start to see it a bit better. One of the things about a still life is just like detecting where the light is coming from so that you know where to put the shadows. But in this case it's coming from the top because this is facing the window and the sun's coming right in. So a lot of the lights are going to be bouncing on the tops of things, but you'll see reflective things where the light's not getting to it if it's silver, and then if it's round the light will just bounce off little things there. Right, it's on the cloth now, so I'm just going to be using my round brush. This will be dark enough, but I'm just going to bring a few little folds into this. I'll give you a shadow there. And maybe some more little folds. So you're better doing quite a lot of them and then just going in and putting a bit, just go in and take away the ones that you don't want with your white. So those kind of lines are taking you in the subject as well. So you can start to see everything going in now to the main subject. Right, so what we're going to do now is clean my brush. Take this, I could probably take the flat one now, make sure it's nice and clean. And we're going to put some nice reflective lights onto the glass where it's catching the sun. So these are quite bright round about here. And sometimes they interrupt the dark. This is quite bright here. just need to watch you don't pick up anything else that's wet. I'm just going to double check. I've got extra clean water here, so I'm just cleaning my brush in clean water. Just make sure it's nice and fresh. So I might get in that, the extra bits of light with my smaller brush. Right, so what I'm going to do here as well, I need a tiny little bit of white and a tiny bit of lemon, and that's just to make this look shiny in here. Just watch you don't do what I did. I think I've leaned on a bit of that, there's a bit of pink, but that's actually okay because wee bits of the apple might be reflecting on the white cloth. I'll see that anyway. So I'm just going to get some fresh white as well. While that's drying, I'm only doing bits at a time, but while that's drying I'm just going to get extra highlights where I'm looking for them. You don't need to be too particular with the cloth. Don't get too worried if it doesn't look right away. You'll just work at it and it'll come up. This is a blank canvas here, so I'm just filling this in now. Doesn't matter if you go over bits, all the better if you do. So pick 3 bit up there. And then it's sticking up, make sure they're whiter, and then just blend it. So this wee one here could be blended in a wee bit more. So that's getting me a look. And you can take a wee extra white as well, and put a wee extra lump down there. So I'm just going to go in and put another tiny wee bit of dark shadow round about the oranges. Oh, just before I do it, maybe put a little bit of yellow and a bit of orange for that wee reflection that was on the side of the bowl. I think we could get away with an extra wee bit on that bowl there, so I'll do that and then I'll put a wee outline around it. And the outline is blue and grey. Everything's pretty wet now, so you just have to be careful. Every now and again you need to stand back because you can overdo it and do so much. Right, so what I'm going to do now, you can see that I need a tiny little bit of grey around little bits of the glass. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space now and again to put little bits of green in as well, because some of the green through the background will be shining through as well. Just tiny little bits. So I want to keep my flat brush nice and clean again. I'm going to take a fresh tissue and I want those highlights nice and bright. Especially the bit where the sun's coming through there. It looks so wet. this helps to shape the bottle a bit as well. So I'll let that dry and I'll work on this and then I'll go back and put the writing in that and hopefully that should be it. So I'm just going to take my little brush for this because it doesn't really need that much. But there's some little bits of highlight shining in there. Just under here, really light. And I've also got, I don't know if I can get this done because it's quite wet, but I'll see if I can get in here and get a wee bit of the rerun right around here. That's not bad. And let's get a wee loop right around here. And that takes you right around that little rim there. And since it's really sunny here, I noticed there was a bit of sun just shining on there, so it can look so bright that it can distort the line. It can make it look as if it's not right there, but it's just so light. And also we'll get a little bit more grey on this. But we'll use white just so it's not too... The grey's got a lot of blue in it, so you'll see this when I put this on. There's lots of little bits of the grey down there, with the silvers going on there. And then just kind of blend it a wee bit because you want some of the blues to come in as well. One of the things that might help to bring that out a little bit more is just putting... How you see it with the light, just putting a little bit of shadow down about there. Not much at all. Just maybe bring that in. And then we can put wee bits of light right about there once we get away from it, but that'll help to bring up the light on that. I'm just going to put a wee spot in there. You don't have to do this is just an extra. But it's pretty wet, so it's kind of hard to do this. So you just kind of put it to the side. It doesn't even matter. I'm not going to put it in capitals because I don't think I've got room for that. Get the idea, and this one's just done a sort of squinting like that. So that's that in. Now I'm just going to pick up a little bit of blue and a little bit of grey, and I'm going to put some of this in my handle. So in this bit it's kind of greyish, and it's kind of greyish in there. And then it gets really bright as it turns the corner, so I'm going to put the highlights on the handle. Just pure white now. So that's captured up there a little bit. And it just runs down a little bit, the same there. And up the side. Now I'm going to get a bit more grey on its own, just for in this bit, because the light sort of disappears from this, but keep just an outline in the white if you can. Just a wee fresh bit of white. Now there's loads of bits of this that you could go on and do more detail, but I might just leave it there. I'm going to put a little bit of highlight on there just so that you can see the stock. And just touch it up with some little bits of stronger bits of the tangerine, and just watch that your cloth hasn't overlapped it like that one just did. The tangerines to get wee sort of highlights in it, So that's just going to be white, and I can see like the top end of them there, really light, you can hardly see the colour, the sun's caught it that much. But they're really light. And this one comes round the corner in the shade, so there's only a little bit catching this one. This one might even catch when you get the other side. Right, so I've just went in here with a little bit more blue into the sky just to bring through into the green, and just to bring up these nice white lines here, I put a wee bit more darker grey mixed with the green. Don't worry if it comes out of a patch, you can go back in with your green and fuse it in with some of your blue as well. And I also went back in and just lifted up some of the white on some of the highlights. And basically that's all I did, a wee bit more darker shadows I mentioned earlier. And that's it. Doing that, boys and girls, and give it a go. You can pick your own subject or do something else if you like, but there's a lot more details you can get into this as well. And every time I look at it, I'll see something, and you will as well. But you can just see a wee bit there, want to shape that a wee bit nicer there. And sometimes that's just for working on the cloth, but that's okay. The good thing about acrylic, you can just keep going back and touching wee bits up. Okay, so I hope you enjoy. Bye bye.